So, it is one day before your Maelstrom demonstration. You secured earlier in the week a great location for your first and primary Maelstrom stadium here in Ovid. A location that evidently has some historical and spiritual significance. And you visit the site early one of those that day, kind of giving it a check out. You can see that there's a team of people that are uh, preparing, kind of going over the rules. You had to clarify a few things in the rules along the way. Um, and a few of the Griffin's Guard, now that there's a full construction site actually associated with it, decided that they're going to, uh, sorry, that they're going to participate in it and end up learning the rules. Uh, Namely, the uh, uh, the Avalians end up wanting to play, as well as the Wildavirians, who end up getting bolstered, and then they end up having some people sitting like on bench to swap out and stuff. Um, People that you guys are um, mostly professional fencers. You talk to a couple of them. It seems to be the common background, as a lot of them are professional fencers. You end up finding the ones that are like most magical capable, and explain to them how water shaping works and how to use a water shaper's rod. And uh, Prince himself ends up meeting you that day, as your interview is set for actually at about 8:30,
Mhm.
and uh, it's about uh, 7:45 ish when he arrives, and he's like, "Well, there certainly is a certain amount of camaraderie spirit here. I'll give you that. It looks like a lot of fun."
Well, you can never go wrong with water, but I might be extremely biased about that. It's just.
One of the they or them uh, they end up mocking, like facing off against each other, and then all of a sudden, one of them spins up into the air, and the other one casts some sort of spell that has them like suspended in it, like they're floating in the middle of some sort of bubble, right? And he goes, "Yes, and I think that they and them take a particular liking to it as well."
Kind of gives them a very polite clap and nods. I mean, if they ever want to join, they're more than welcome to dip their toes in. But that's all on they and them, so.
Unfortunately, they're not waterproof. Them, however, I haven't bothered to ask.
Hmm. Okay. Scratches
um,
her chin and cheek about that for a moment, looking slightly confused, but nods nonetheless.
Now, with this interview, there's a few things to keep in mind. The focus is very clearly on promoting Maelstrom, and they should know this. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not going to try and fish for a couple of hot takes every once in a while. That's to be expected. However, we can't know what they're going to use. If they haven't found anything real, they might just come up with something.
Hmm. Would you suggest playing coy about that, or kind of turning the tables on them?
I'd suggest using it like a carrot. Whenever they bring it up, just use it as a teased reward if they get back on track.
Okay, okay,
Whatever
okay.
you do, though, don't let them eat the carrot.
Ah, okay, okay, okay. Hmm. Hmm. Scratches her chin again very thoughtfully. staring up. I think that has been used against me a few times. I'll try my best to also weaponize it, but no promises.
I have the utmost faith in you, Honu.
Hmm. Well, somebody has to.
Oh, don't be like that. I'm certain that the rest of your compatriots have the same sort of faith, if not more.
I'm not too sure if they agree on the my social prowess, but we will see. It will be a learning experience for all. Okay. Okay.
You guys make your way through the portcullis and Sonte Guild, uh, and uh, he actually teleports you to the portcullis, and you guys step through, and you walk the rest of the way there. And you see they and them kind of flanking on either side of you. They do weird pantomimes along the way, bits of slapstick comedy and stuff. Prince hardly seems to notice. It kind of plies you about your business ventures and what you guys are doing
You cut off?
with your advise you for information on like what your group's plans and stuff are over the next several weeks. If you have any grand adventures in mind.
For right now, I mean, it's on the book. We'll just see what gets, gets washed up our way. Not washed up. We'll just see what, the wind blows in our direction. We'll try to catch sail with that. But for now, trying to at least organize and then she'll just go over the other plans about the hospitals and the health clinics, and then the training halls and stuff. So I mean, we're busy.
Quite the philanthropist.
That's a word I've been hearing a lot, and I thought that was just like a standard. I mean, that's kind of stuff that we've done in the Coterie Coast for so long, but I'm learning that, I guess, it's a little bit different.
Oh, well, there's a big difference between the Coterie Coast and the sovereign states, my dear.
Mm.
Namely, it's the game.
Oh.
There's no game out in the Coterie Coast. Everybody's on the same playing field.
Yeah.
However, if you look at the games here, they all have multiple levels to them. Layers. And at any one of them you might succeed, and another you might lose. Some people are born into that game, and they never ever get a moment out of it. It will take quite a lot to wake those types of people up.
I feel kind of great sorrow for them if they think that life is all just about give and take. I mean, everything's a big gamble. That's not a very peaceful life. I don't know if they're actually truly happy about that, but we'll see. Misery does follow competition a lot. Not the gracious kind.
It's also profitable.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're here. Good luck to you, Honu.
She'll...
Though, again, I doubt you're gonna need it.
Mm-hmm. I thank you by the bottom of my heart, and she'll give a fist bump out to they and them, and a polite bow to Prince.
One of them takes the fist bump and dramatically explodes backwards into the arms of the other one, tumbles over their shoulder, and the other one goes back up and meets the other fist. And they strike a dramatic pose back to back. And then they peer away in front of him, and as they cross in front of him, once they pass each other's paths, he's no longer there between them. and then they just look shocked at each other, and then they look at you awkwardly, and they kind of feign awkwardness silently, and then they just kind of like link arm in arm and skip off down the
And
street.
Honu flexes for a bit, and then as she takes a few deep breaths, you'll do a small water genasi war cry and cast enhance ability for charisma on her. And walks in. Okay, I'm ready. Game face.
You
Let's go.
are in Montcalm, and in front of a very large rectangular or squarish tower. Stands about probably a dozen stories tall. It's got a very weird assortment of gears and what looks to be almost kind of like an orrery on top or a telescope. Um, and you can see that there's a metal wrought sign that is set and pressed to show the letters AVHQ. And then underneath it, elaborately wrought out of that same metal, is a very vine like design that spells the word the hearth.
Mm.
You walk inside, and there's a front vestibule, and there's a little wall of, sitting and waiting room, and, out here you can see that there's like a lot of people that are like, kind of just sitting for various interviews. Most of them look like musicians and stuff, but you see that it's very comfortable sitting in here. Uh, the hearth is taken to a very aesthetic choice as well, with there being multiple hearths in these sort of alcove sitting areas with comfortable couches, and it almost feels like a library or a gentleman's kind of room. It's very uh, studious in a way. And eventually, the person that you signed in with at this desk ends up coming and calling your name, and you are escorted by this young human in, beige pants and button-up white shirt and a bow tie down these hallways of clamoring people. The next floor that you go up to after that is just filled with noise and the ringing of bells and people shouting things to each other, and you can have a hard time making out any of it. And they lead you through this mess, explaining that this is where like most of like the like urgent and breaking news comes in through, right? And it's filtered through all of this through the various floors until it gets up to the top, and you take the elevator, and they go, which is where we're going. And you take the elevator all the way up to the top. It's this friendly young chap, takes with his bow tie, takes you all the way to the recording room, and you can see a little sign over the top that's got a green dot on it, and you go inside, and it looks like a study room, but you can see a big long glass window, and the other person goes, we're going to be on the other side of that. Go ahead and get comfortable. He'll be in just a moment.
Okay.
And there's 2 armchairs in front of a fireplace and a very snug thing with this big, long, elaborate-looking mirror that you get the distinct feeling people are looking at you on from the other side of.
Okay. Is there any like tea or anything to eat or read here?
Looking out, you do see that there is a tea set sitting on the little table between your 2 armchairs.
Okay.
The kettle on it does actually look to be hot.
Okay. She'll pour some, and then trying to remember if it's really polite for the guest to be pouring tea for the host, but so kind of would she know that if that's the right She'll pour it.
Um,
She'll pour it
yeah,
anyway.
I mean,
Yeah. Or, might as well. She'll just pour two
you know,
sips.
in general, that places that leave the tea and stuff out, tend to view it as self-serve kind of stuff.
Okay. Okay.
Um, if they intended it one way or the other, they would have brought the tea out.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, and as you're doing, eventually a door on the opposite side of the room opens up, and you see a human, combed back black hair, very well groomed mustache, and this nice, simple, dapper suit. Right? He walks over to you and he smiles and goes, "Ah, yes, yes. I'm looking forward to this interview."
As am I. I thank you for your patience.
And he sits down. Uh, you hear a voice on the other side go, "We're going to be live in 3, 2, 1." You hear this. Welcome, listeners, to AVHQ The Heart. I'm your host, Crispin Denoir. Our guest today is someone that Arvel has been abuzz about for weeks, one of the mysterious paradoxes, Honu Stormconch. Now, the heroics of Honu and her compatriots are admirable and well known, but it turns out that escorting princesses and saving gambling halls isn't all she's capable. She's here today to talk to us not about adventuring, but rather about something we can all get behind. Friendly competition. A sport she and her allies invented themselves aboard the deck of their airship, the Wave Sweep. A sport they call Maelstrom. Welcome, honey.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me, Honu, what's this Maelstrom about anyways? I heard that you had a meeting with Varrock of Demeter. Should we expect something similar to the Crucible?
In a way, we kind of asked about the similarities and where it can go, and came upon the agreement that it was all about trying to better ourselves and each other along the way. There is trial and error, but every step that you take with Maelstrom, just know that it's bringing you closer to a better you.
I had, of course, heard that you were one known for such wise epithets and sayings. It's good to know that the rumors were true.
I
Another rumor that I heard is that you were personally responsible for that bolt of lightning that was seen crashing out of the watery sphere when you first arrived here. Our keen listeners will remember that almost 1 month ago, the airship in question, the Wave Sweeper, had a fiery entrance into our nation as it crashed off the coast of Sainte Lumiere. Are these rumors true?
uh, that is correct. I was the one who summoned the lightning bolt in order to go to the wreckage as quickly as possible, but in order for that to happen, two of my allies, who was actually competing in Maelstrom a few hours prior, were the ones who actually managed to jettison me out, so I had the opportunity to act as quickly as possible. It was not the actions of me that made it happen, but that of those who I sailed with and stood by.
Playing this sport Maelstrom, but hours before that devastating destruction. It certainly makes it a memorable beginning to a burgeoning young sport.
Yeah, well, the whole thing about the start of the whole game is cohesion. having everybody be on the same page, no matter what side you're on. And at that one moment, we all knew we had to act. And we coordinated everything as best as possible, and luckily everybody came out a little bit battered, but alive and willing to fight another day.
Now, the crucible that Barak is so well known for is one that is attractive to heroes and adventurers such as yourself. And this is a sport that was as well invented by heroic individuals. But I am to believe that this sport is not limited to just heroes, that it's approachable for anybody. Is this true?
That is correct. I mean, hero is a very weird term. At least where I'm from, we say, and she'll state a word, and then, which can also be applied to someone who is a farmer. They help nourish a community. They help grow. Anybody who puts their hands and help raises each other in a group, that is a heroic effort. Not just deeds that seem grandiose. The small things are what shapes a valiant hero.
Humility is a good virtue, and definitely one to extol, and certainly different than the virtues that Crucible speaks of. What other virtues would you say are elicited or necessary for somebody to play Maelstrom?
I mean, you could always have one. She thinks for a moment. One powerful player. I have all the eggs in that basket, but if they get injured or if something happens that they can't play, the team falls. It's all about not one person, but standing side by side and being able to have that collective strength to be willing to fight, not fight, but willing to stand up to any wave as tall as possible. So I would say whoever wants to test themselves, it doesn't have to be for heroics, but test to see how much they can push themselves, be it mentally, physically, because it's not just a physical sport. It's all about, she will make a motion to her sternum, it's all about your inner drive. If you want to succeed, Maelstrom is not going to stop you. It's going to help teach you that success comes in many shapes and forms. It's not just a big goal, it's just a small thing, having those, I guess you can call them plateaus, but always knowing that there's another mountain to climb right afterwards. There's never just an end goal. It's a journey, it's a circle to see how many loops you can swim through in order to reflect on who you were before and where you are now. And also sharing the tale with people along the way. Actions of one person may resonate throughout history, but true change happens when others by your side are there to carry on that torch. History will forget people, but they won't forget how it changed the environment along the way. That resonates far beyond all of our comprehension. So the smallest person can defeat the odds if they have the willingness to face the unknown, but also know that there's others behind them that will catch them and pull them to safety, and that they too will do the same for their allies. Be that,
If they're willing to step into the maelstrom, one might say.
yes, it's a draw. You're constantly trying to work with the water, use it for your advantage against you, let it pull and push, because sometimes getting pushed along will take you to a destination you didn't realize was beneficial. Sometimes fighting it will cause more strife along the way. So knowing when to give and take.
Well, there are certainly many young men and women on the front lines of this burgeoning young and new war that certainly understand what it's like to find themselves swept into things that they very likely do not find beneficial. You yourself have used the term fight a couple of times in describing this sport, and then corrected yourself at one point. Is that perhaps because you find fighting a natural part of your life after having fought for so long? Do you imagine as well, perhaps, that people that are currently out there fighting, young men and women, Harvalians, and other people in the sovereign states fighting for sovereignty and freedom, that they might also be able to find solace and peace after the war with a sport such as this?
That could be
There
true.
are too few avenues for soldiers and veterans once they return from normal. A war like this is certain to leave lasting marks.
It will. I mean, to answer the first part of your question, a lot of the time that I struggle with is being able to express myself in a way in terms of common. It's not my first language. I have learned and mastered two other languages before I fully sat down and tried to iron out common. So there are different words, and I could linguistically express that, but I think the one thing everybody can understand is when you get pushed down, there's that drive that you always need to try to scramble up to get back on your feet. Just because your back is against the wall or on the floor doesn't mean you're out. Doesn't mean your options are limited. It just means you need to look at the situation and adapt to it and understand that others are trying to do the same, that there is compassion to be had. In times of great conflict, there's something to learn from it. And things might seem hopeless, but we band together and, as I said, fight nonetheless. Either against yourself, either against a world that seems to be frowning upon you. In Aquin, we associate fighting with the heartbeat. As many breaths that you take, you try to create a better world. Where the community I'm from, we don't really associate fighting to be something about combat, but more about looking at each day and striving to complete it, doing more good than anything. That's what the coastal genasi were, I guess, raised up to be. If you are familiar with history, we were thought to be the protectors of Kishara. Take guidance from Takaroa. Those who are currently fighting in this war, just like the ocean and surfing, it might be turbulent, but you ride the waves on both good and bad days. You might stumble, but you get back on that surfboard and you just ebb and flow. There are going to be good days, there are going to be bad days, and days where you don't want to wake up, you just want it to stop, but the ocean waves still flow with it. So you breathe along with the tides, bring yourself back up on that surfboard, and you try to reach a height far higher than it was before. And after fighting is done, whatever battle you might be having, be it in a war, be it against oppression, be it against anything else that you might be struggling in life, the water is something of healing. It's dark and deep and murky sometimes, but it always goes to a shoreline. It always brings you back to land. So you need to make sure your feet are firmly planted. So then you can walk back to your loved ones, to your dreams and your goals. And then hopefully you can jump into a maelstrom sphere and know that at least this is a new battle, that of healing. That is the toughest that anybody can go up against, facing your own demons, those that you saw. But know that everybody else on that other side also has seen those things, maybe in a different form, but it affected them in a way. You're all brought back into a watery sphere, trying to better yourself from it. And trying to.
Wise words from one of the Paradox's valiant members, Honu Stormcon. Thank you for your time with us this day, Honu. And we look forward to being able to hear more of your words of wisdom in the future.
Okay.
However, our time is running low. But if our listeners hope to hear more from Honu Stormconch or more about Maelstrom, be sure to tune in tomorrow as we will be giving a live play-by-play of their first ever Maelstrom demonstration. Thank you once again, Honu.
Thank you. I'm glad you were allowed this ear to be listened to.
And to our listeners, remember, if you have a cold, you can find warmth at the hearth. A little ditty plays the outro, and thank you. That was a really good interview.
She'll just bow. I don't know if I was stumbling over my words too much, but I hope that answers
No,
your
that was
questions.
fantastic. There was a lot of really good material there. I'm certain that they're going to want to bring you on again in the future.
Well, we'll see. I'm sure my other
And
allies.
if I wasn't required here, I would definitely go out and view the demonstration myself. But I look forward to hearing the updates.
No worries. There might be enough reenactments. I do know that people like to boast about how things went down. There might be enough pictures, but I'm sure it will be a tale that will be amusing nonetheless. I hope I didn't take too much out of your time, and that you have a pleasant day ahead of you. And then she's going to finish up her tea. I don't know, if you're talking right now, I can't hear you.
No, my internet ate it.
Okay, asshole.
Yeah, it ate it right after he was saying, that he, looks forward to having an interview with you again.
Okay, yeah. She just, just stated back that, if since he's not gonna be saying it, that I'm sure enough people will recount the shenanigans. It will be amusing nonetheless, and just drank her tea, finished it up. Yeah. Then afterwards, she'll be looking to Prince. Was there a carrot there? I don't know if I saw a carrot that was being dangled. I don't know.
Not bad for a novice, is all he would end up saying.
I don't know.
Mastered some skills that take some politicians a lifetime, and yet some obvious ones you still have yet to learn.
Hmm.
15 minutes of airtime.
Gotcha. So she's like, wait a second, if I talk long enough, they won't ask a lot of questions. I got it.
Yep, that was the one thing you got.
It's like, ah,
Yep.
yes.
Yep. Ah.
Trying to reveal more Coterie Coast culture and shit that as long as you breathe, you're still able to fight. Whatever that fight is, it's still something you have to overcome. Yeah, she was gonna bring up, well, one of my ancestors was a butcher kind of thing. Well, not really butcher, just a fisherman, and he leaded up to becoming a famous warrior. But then she's like, "Oh shit, we're talking about emotions. I could talk about this." God. Didn't know if she would be isolating herself by stating, well, this was an occupation one of my ancestors had. They fought in the war. It's like, no, 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 let's not talk about the war right now. Let's talk about people might not be off fighting, but they still have a war that they're dealing with. It's just a figurative one. Somebody's battling with addiction, it's a war within.